My name is Ayush Mishra and I am a Microsoft certified trainer at JTech, and I will be your host today for this 45 minutes tightly scheduled webinar. So in this webinar, we will be discussing about basics of Azure AD Conditional Access. So let's get started. When we talk about the webinar, we are about to begin this webinar. So first of all, thank you very much everyone for joining us today into this webinar session. So without any further delay, let's get started with our webinar. Before moving towards with the webinar, let's quickly discuss in terms of what we'll be covering as a part of agenda today. So here is the agenda which we have. So first of all, we are going to talk about the Azure AD Conditional Access, that what actually Azure AD Conditional Access is, what are the use cases where we need to use the Azure AD Conditional Access policies. Then we have a demonstration related to the implementation, that how can we implement the Azure AD Conditional Access policies in our environment. Then we have a question answer session in place. Once we have done with all those agenda like Azure AD conditional access, use case, and the demonstration as well, then we have a question and answer agenda at the end of the webinar. So let me move here with the next slide. So here you can see the Azure AD conditional access. Before moving towards the conditional access, first of all, let me talk something about the Azure Active Directory. So if I'm talking about the Azure Active Directory, so Azure Active Directory is a cloud-based identity and access management service, means it provides us the identity in form of the users, devices, and all. And also this service help our employees to access the external resources, different type of resources such as Microsoft 365, Azure Portal, and the plenty of the numbers of SaaS applications. Also, Azure AD helps us to access the internal resources like the applications which are present in our corporate network and intranet as well. So these all are the things which is related to the Azure Active Directory. So when we are talking about the Azure Active Directory, so the conditional access is a security part of Azure Active Directory. Before moving towards the conditional access, let me go through once with the Active Directory, and then you have a little bit idea related to the Azure Active Directory. So let me quickly jump up to my Azure portal. So this is my Azure portal, which is on the screen. And here you can see the Azure Active Directory option. Let me select that one. And here you can see this is my default directory and this is my primary domain here. And by using that default directory, I can manage users. And in the users list, you can see that I'm having some sort of user created here, like Ayush Mishra, P admin, share user, user 01, user 02, user 03. Same as like that, if I'm moving back to the default directory, then I'm having access to the different type of groups. I'm having some sort of groups present here. If I want to create a new one, then I'm having a new option here. Same as like that, I'm having the different properties here, which I can manage from the Azure Active Directory, like external identities, roles and administrators, different type of administrative units, and also if I want to manage the devices by using the Azure Active Directory, then we can. So same as like that, when it's come to the security part, then into the security, we are having the different type of options present here, like conditional access, identity protection, security center, name location, and all those things. So we will be discussing all the things later. So that is a basic idea about Azure Active Directory. Let me move back to the PPT, and here I'm going to talk about the conditional access this time. So as per name, you can see the access which is based on the different conditions. So if I'm talking about the conditional access here, so as per name, we can imagine that this is something which is related to the access based upon the different type of conditions which do we have, and it works on the signals. Let me move back to this one. What actually signals mean? Let me select the pen from here. Then what actually signals mean? So when anyone trying to access the applications and the data which are hosted into our cloud environment, then signals comes and generated from the different type of users and the different type of locations as well. The signals are generating from the different applications, devices, and the real-time risk as well. So what conditional access policies do? The conditional access policies can taking the signals from the different scenarios, whether it is from the specific user or the location or the device application as well, then it is depending that whether the access is allowed to that signal or the condition, that if the access is allowed, then we have to improve the identity with the different manner, like using the multi-factor authentication, and whether the action is blocked. So it will verify the every access attempt after the first step authentication is completed, which is for your credentials like username and password. Then you will be able to access the applications and the data which is a part of your cloud environment. So this is something which is known as a conditional access policy. And if you want to implement that conditional access policy, then what you have to do, you have to go on the Azure Active Directory option, and from there you need to go on the security, and then you will be getting the option for the conditional access as well. By default, the security default is enabled to your Azure cloud environment. If I'm talking about the security default environment, so this is something which I'm talking about. If I'm going to my default directory here, and let me move back to the properties section, and into the properties section, if I'm scrolling it down, then here you can see that I'm having one option which is manage security default. In this security default, you can see the security default is a set of basic identity security mechanism recommended by the Microsoft. When enabled, these recommendations will be automatically enforced in your organization. Administrators and users will be better protected from the common identity related attacks. So here one more thing comes in the picture, that is identity related attack. So what is it? Whenever we are talking about the identity, so identity is something which is related to the users and the credentials. So there are different type of attacks are available which are hitting our identities, and they are trying to compromise our users, like dictionary attack and all those attacks. So when the security default is enabled, so a basic set of security mechanism is applied to all the users which are part of this default directory. You can disable it with that option, but once you disable it, then you will be able to apply the conditional access policy. Please be make sure till the time security defaults are enabled, you will not be able to apply the conditional access policies to your environment. So it is prerequisites that if you want to use the conditional access policy, then what you have to do, you have to first of all disable the security defaults. And when you are done with that, then you will be able to apply the conditional access policy. But the most important thing is that when it comes to the conditional access policy, that the conditional access policy is allowed with some licensing options here. Like if you are having any Active Directory premium license, like if I'm clicking on the overview option here, so in the license section you can see that I'm having the license with Azure AD Premium P2, then I will be able to apply the conditional access policy here. If I'm having the free license for Active Directory, then I'm not able to configure the conditional access policy. Or if you are having the Microsoft 365 Business Premium license with you, then also you will be able to apply the conditional access policy. So there are two important things which we have to know whenever it comes to the implementation of the conditional access policy. Let me move back to the presentation. So the first thing is that you have a proper license with you, and also you disabled the security default options as well. So that is all about the conditional access policies. Let me go ahead with the presentation and let me talk about the use cases. Like what are the different use cases which do we have where we can apply the conditional access policy. So here in the screen, you can see one example that a payroll manager wants to access the payroll application and it's required to do multi-factor authentication to access it. So my apologies. So if any payroll manager wants to access the application, like payroll application, then the multi-factor authentication is required to access that specific application. To meet that goal, what we need to do, we need to apply a conditional access policy. So when it comes to the conditional access policy, what is the primary goal for the administrators, why they are implementing the conditional access policy? So the first one thing is that empower users to be productive wherever and whenever. So what does this mean? It means that the users in an organization having their own corporate device, right? And they will using that device for accessing the corporate resources. But at any point of time, if user wants to access the corporate resources or the organization resources with their own personal device, then we can use the conditional access policy to protect our organization assets and make the work more productive from the users as well. So these all are the use case where we can implement the conditional access policy. So that is all about the things. Let me move ahead with the presentation and then we have a demo for implementing the conditional access policy. And in this demonstration, we are taking a look for the different aspects, like how can we implement the conditional access policy. Okay, that's fine. Let me jump up again to the Azure portal. So this is my Azure portal. Let me go back to the home and I'm moving towards the Azure Active Directory, and into the user section, let me add some users here. So for example, this is my user with name Shivam. Okay, let me go for the password and I want to create a password. Okay. And the user's location for this user is India. And let me hit on the create button. So here you can see that I have one more user in place, which is Shivam. And let me create 2 or 3 more users here, like the Panshu. And let me type the name here. Let me create a password. And the location for this user is India as well. Let me create that one. Okay, and I am going to create one more user here with name Nub. Okay, that's great. Let me select the password for that user. And the user's location for this user is India also. Okay, let me create that user. Okay, so here you can see that I'm having 3 users in place: Shivam, Dipanshu, and Nub. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to implement the different conditional access policies into these users. So how can we implement the conditional access policy? If you want to implement the conditional access policy, then first of all, you have to go the default directory, which is your Azure Active Directory. Then scroll down in the left section and go for the security option first. And into the security option, here you can see one option that is conditional access. So let me click on this one and I want to create a new policy here. And I want to create a new policy, and this policy is restrict Azure portal access. For example, this is my policy name, which is restricting the access to the Azure portal. Then I need to select the user, group, workload, and identities. So let me select the users, and into that one, I want to apply that policy to the specific users only. So for this task, let me select the user Dipanshu this time, and let me select that user. Into the cloud apps and the actions, Let me go for the selected applications and I'm selecting here the Azure Management option. This is the option. Okay, let me select that one. Then into the conditions, I don't want to set any type of condition right now. Into the access control, let me select the block access and I'm going to select that option. And I want to enable that policy and let me hit on the create. So before creating that policy, let's have a look what we have done so far. So first of all, I have put the name for the policy, that is restrict Azure portal access. You can write any name here, but the important thing is that the name should be meaningful. Then I am selecting some users here, like into the user section, I have selected one user, Dipanshu. And into the cloud apps and actions, I have selected the Azure management and I'm blocking the access for the Dipanshu user to the Azure portal. And I am creating that policy by hitting the create button here. So the policy is in process. So we have to wait for the time. And here you can see the successfully created that policy. If I'm click over here, then you can see see the properties which I have selected at the time of creation of that policy. Let me move back into this section, and here you can see the one policy is in place, that is restrict Azure portal access, and the state for this policy is on, and this is the creation date and time for that specific policy. Okay, that's fine. Let me go for the Azure Active Directory into the new tab. It is opening up. Into the user section, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to select the Dipanshu user and let me copy up the user principal name, and I'm trying to log in with that user. So let me go for the private tab once, and I'm trying to open the Azure portal with the Dipanshu user. Okay, let me type the password here. That is okay. It is asking me the password. Let me type the password. Okay. And here you can see the access has been blocked by conditional access policies. The access policy does not allow the token issuance. So here you can see the conditional access policy is applied. If I'm trying to open it once again, that is portal.azure.com. So here you can see you don't have access to this. Your sign-in was successful, but you don't have a permission to access this resource. This is why, because the conditional access policies is applied over here, and I have restricted that user to access to the Azure portal. What if I'm trying to access Office portal with the same user? So let me check it here. I'm going for office.com this time. And let me hit on the sign in button first. And there we go. You can see that user Dipanshu is able to log into the Office portal, but when that user is trying to access Azure portal, then the access is blocked. So this is the effect of conditional access policy. So let me again open up my main browser where I'm having the conditional access policy in place. So here you can see restrict Azure portal access. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new policy according to the location. So this policy applies for if any user tries to log in to the any of the resources, whether it is a Office 365 portal, whether it is a Azure portal from the specific location, then the access for the user is blocked. So how can we do that with that policy? So for creating the named location based policies or location based policies, first of all, we need to set the named location into the manage section. So in this conditional access pane here, you can see one option for the named location. So that's okay. Let me select that one. And here you can see that you can create the IP range location and the country locations. So here you can see that I'm having one location India in place. But if you want to create any location, then you have to just hit on the country and location button. So for example, let me type here that is United States, and from here you can search for the same as well. So let me select that one and let me hit on the create. So as like that, you can create a named location. Then you can see I'm two named location in place here. Then I'm going to create a new conditional access policy here. So let me go on the policies first and let me create a new policy. This time I'm going to restrict all cloud app access, and this is my location based policy. That's fine. Into the users, let me go for the user. I'm selecting this option, and this time I'm selecting the nub user for this policy. And into the condition here, you can see that I'm having the different condition in place, like user risk, sign in risk, default device platform, locations, client apps, and filter for the devices. So this time I'm going to use this condition, which is location. And let me configure this as yes. And let me select the specific location, that is India. And let me hit on the select here. And into the grant, what I'm going to do, I'm blocking the access here. Let me select that one, block access option, and I want to enable that policy. So the policy is creating. And here you can see the new policy is successfully created. That is restrict cloud app access according to the location. And when it is created, so here you can see the creation date of the policy as well. Let me again move back to the private mode and show you that policy is working or not. So let me sign out with this one and let me sign out with that one as well. Okay, I want to sign out. I want to sign out here as well. So you can see that I have signed out. Let me close this browser and let me open up a new private window here. Now I'm going to open Azure portal first of all with the nub user. So let me select the nub user here and I'm tapping the password and I'm trying to sign in. Okay. Let me type the new password once again. Okay. Okay, and here you can see that the user will able to log in. So what we have to do, we have to wait for some time because sometimes it may take a 5 to 10 minutes to applying the policy. And once the policy is applied, then we will be able to access that. Till the time, let me go for the policies once again. And let me show you one thing that I have selected no any cloud or the applications here which I'm blocking the access. So that's why this policy is not working. So for the same, what I can do, I can go for this one, that is a cloud app or actions. And let me select the application, or I want to use it on the all applications, and let me hit on the save. All right. So the modification is successfully completed to the policy. Let me do one thing quickly. Sign out with this session and sign in once again to take the changes reflect. And I'm signing out. Okay. Let me sign back again with my account. Let me type in the password here. It is opening up. And I'm going for the Azure Active Directory into the security section. Let me go for the conditional access. And here you can see that I'm having two policies in place. Let me quickly move back to this one and let me try to log in again with the user nub. So let me change the name here with nub and hit on the next. Okay. No. And here you can see the sign in is failed. If I'm again trying to open the same portal here, then you can see that you cannot access this right now. Your sign-in was successful, means the first step authentication is completed, but does not meet the criteria to access this resource. For example, you might be signed in from a browser, app, or location that is restricted by your admin. So when I'm making this policy, I have selected all application into the cloud app section. So let me check that whether nub user is able to log into the office portal as well or not. So let me go for the office.com this time. Okay, let me hit on the sign in here. And you can see it is opening up. That's fine. Let me sign out with those accounts and let me sign in once again. Go for the office.com. Okay, let me hit on the sign in. Let me type the password here. No. Okay, and this user will able to log into that account. Right. Let me sign out with that account as well. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a new policy here. And this one is for requiring the multi-factor authentication. So policy with MFA, this is the name of my policy. And let me select this policy for the user Shivam. This is the user. Into the cloud apps and the actions, let me select the all cloud applications this time. And into the condition, let me select the location. So I'm using the multiple factors here. And into the selected location, I'm using the India here. And into the access, let me go for the grant access, but require the multi-factor authentication this time. Right. And I'm going to enable that policy and let me hit on the create. And till the time, let me open up the private mode window here, and I'm opening up the Azure portal this time. And if I'm trying to log in here with the user Shivam, let me change the name with Shivam here. Okay, let me type the password. Okay, let me change the password. Let me confirm the password. And here you can see that I'm having the more options required. Okay. And you can see the more information required. And your organization needs more information to keep your account secure. Let me hit on the next one. And I have to set up the multi-factor authentication, whether I can use the authenticator application, or if I want to set up a different authentication method, then I can choose it from here with the mobile phone or the authenticator application. So this time I'm go with phone. Let me hit on the confirm. Let me select my country and I'm typing my phone number. Oops. Okay, and let me enter the code which I'm receiving on my mobile phone this time. So what the code is, that is 291049, 291049, and let me hit on the next. So here you can see the multi-factor authentication step is completed, and now I'm able to sign in with my account. So this is the thing which I'm trying to tell you, that if you are implementing the conditional access policy, so you can implement that conditional access policy into the different manner. You can block the access according to the user. You can block the access according to the devices. You can block the access according to the location from where the login is hitting up, and also you can grant the access or approve the login with additional requirement over here. So if I'm moving back here once again and I'm going to create a new policy here, so before creating that one, let me delete some old policies here. Let me remove that one. So if you are trying to delete the policy, then you have to just hit on these three icon button here, and then you will be able to delete that policy. Okay, that's fine. Let me create a new policy. And this one is for require password change. And into the users, I'm going to select the users. And this time I'm selecting the user Dipanshu here. And into the conditions, let me select the location. The location is India. So you can select the multiple conditions, whether it is a device or something. Into the cloud apps or actions, I'm selecting the all cloud applications. And into the grant access, here you can see grant access but require multi-factor authentication, require approved client application, require the password change. So let me hit on that one. And here you can see the user list must be selected when the required password grant is selected. So if you are implementing the policy and you are skipping any one of this step, so you will getting the detail here, and also you can select the user list here as well. So let me create this set into the high level. That's fine. And you can see the one user list is available here. And let me go for the on and create that policy as well. So here you can see a new policy is created which is requiring for password change, and this will apply into the all of the cloud applications. Here you can see the all cloud applications. So now what I'm going to do is I'm trying to log in with the Azure portal with the same user. So before that, let me sign out with the Shivam user. It is signing out. Okay, let me close this browser and I'm opening up a new private window here and going for the Azure portal. Let me enter the user principal name for user Dipanshu. Let me enter the password for this user. Okay. And here you can see the sign-in access has been blocked. No problem. Let me again go for Azure portal. Okay, sign in again. So if you are getting these type of errors, so what you can do, you can wait for some time, because I'm frequently applying the policies to the different users into the different scenarios. So it may take time to implement all those policies. Sometime it may take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 15 minutes. So what you can do, you can wait for some time after implementing the policy, and then your policy will be applied. So these all are the different scenarios in which we can use the multi-factor authentication. So let me move back to the presentation once again. So this is all about the demonstration for implementing the conditional access policy here. And thank you very much for joining us the webinar. And from here, you can go for our upcoming events, which do we have into this URL, like techlearn.com webinar ASPX, and also you can scan this QR code. And thank you very much for attending this webinar. Thank you very much. Now it is a question time for you. So here is the question one. Which tool is used by Azure Active Directory to provide access to resources based on organization policies? So what the answer is? So for this one, the answer is conditional access policy. And how you can go for the conditional access policies? So if you are on your Azure portal, then you have to go on the Azure Active Directory first, and then you have to go for the security section. And into the security section, here you can see the conditional access policy, and from where you can implement the policies and manage your existing conditional access policies as well. Okay, let me move back to the next question here. Can we apply the conditional access policies for a specific location? Yes, we can apply the conditional access policies for specific locations. And this time here we go, and into the policies section, when it comes to the manage, under the manage you can see the named location, and we can create a different named location here, and accordingly we can implement the different type of policies. If I'm creating a new policy here, to and into the condition section, you can see one condition which is for location, and here you can see the different locations which you have created. So yes, if the question comes up to this one, that is, can we apply conditional access policies for a specific location? So the answer is yes, we can apply the conditional access policies for a specific location. Moving ahead to the next question. What are the prerequisites for implementing the conditional access policies? So as we discussed, the first of all, we need a Azure Active Directory Premium P2 license, or if we are having the Microsoft 365 Business Premium license, then we will be able to implement the conditional access policy. That is about the licensing perspective. Then if you are trying to implement the conditional access policy, then you have to disable the security enable default or security default options into your Azure Active Directory properties. Then after, you will be able to implement the conditional access policies easily. So that is all about the webinar. Thank you very much for joining us today into the session.